Republicans absolutely voted for this.
Okay, people do not want government waste, that's for sure, but they didn't vote for foresters to get fired.
Look,
they didn't vote for the parks to be closed.
Look, you
veterans to be fired.
You guys keep trying to create this fantasy land where Donald Trump is not popular, where Republicans are mad.
Republicans are mad. He shut down the town halls.
Can you name a single Democrat in Congress who's more popular than Donald Trump right now?
Listen,
Answer, no.
Scott,
Republicans are so happy with this. They're not upset about it.
No, they are.
The American people are happy about what's going on right now because for the first time in a long time, a president said,
Scott,
I'm actually going to reduce the size of government.
That's Republican and man single-handedly keeping CNN alive, Scott Jennings absolutely destroying the liberal narrative that Trump voters have buyer's remorse to the chagrin of a hysterical panel of Democrat operatives. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and if there's one thing Democrats and their puppets in establishment media love more than gaslighting voters about liberal lunacy, it's openly lying about the beliefs of conservatives. Because after all, who better to tell you what Republicans think and feel than low-trust liberal mouthpieces in legacy media? Here's Abby Phillip and her panel of lackeys once again playing second fiddle to Scott Jennings on her own show.
Republicans like to use this word disrespectful, entitlement. When people disagree with them and push back, it becomes this, you're being disrespectful and you should be grateful for these crumbs that we are giving you when this president is literally fighting for his life.
Crumbs?
But the reality is the softening up on Putin. He doesn't have to say what J.D. Vance said of like we should give Putin a Nobel Peace Prize. Just the mannerisms and the way that Donald Trump has decided to deal with Putin versus some of our allies that actually need our support is alarming. And it is mind-boggling that Republicans cannot agree with that fact.
Can I ask you a question? How, in your mind, how does this end? How do you want it to end? Right.
Well, it doesn't end with you berating what should be an ally.
No, I'm asking you how the war ends. How does the killing stop?
There's negotiations behind the scenes. Behind the scenes.
You got to get to the table.
You got to get to the table, but you cannot berate someone in the way that they did.
Scott was absolutely.
So you don't really have any.
I mean, listen.
No, we do.
You know, it's insane how this woman is calling $66 billion crumbs. I mean, if Democrats had any common sense, they would stop trivializing this stuff so much. Because all it's doing is showing how truly clueless they are about the economy and spending. I mean, they're currently doing the exact same thing with all of the Doge cuts, which are currently estimated to save approximately $65 billion and counting. But I've got to say that the hypocrisy is a bit amusing to watch, considering how much of a stink they kicked up in Trump's first term about funding the border wall, which only cost $15 billion. But of course, none of this should actually come as a surprise, considering how they routinely prioritize supporting endless foreign wars over securing our own borders.
Is it worth it? I mean, was not putting on a tie worth it? Was calling Donald Trump?
Is it worth it? That's the last thing that he's worried about.
Look,
he's worried about protecting his nation. Y'all love to do that and gaslight people for being in the position that
you brought it up. You called him names.
Brought it up.
You called him names.
He called him a thug. You said that he didn't dress the way that he should have.
One thing about Russia that's true, they suck, okay? Look, they invaded Ukraine. They've lost 700.
Why can't President Trump say that?
For very clearly saying that.
But here's what I see. They've lost 700,000 people dead or wounded. They've spent untold amounts of money. They've gained barely any territory in 3 years. The Ukrainians have fought them bravely and courageously. At the same time,
why can't Donald Trump say
the same time, the political will in the United States to open-ended fund a stalemate is dropping rapidly. The American people want this to come to a conclusion. I think Zelensky is misreading the American political situation. Maybe it was true 3 years ago. Today, people want this to come to an end, and there's a way this ends where he wins.
But don't you
and
think
he cannot
Zelensky
accept the win.
Anybody else?
You know, establishment media simply cannot get over this President Trump and Russia narrative, and it's absolutely bonkers. They're basically behaving like children who can't contextualize anything at this point. It's why you can't speak about certain subjects or say certain words in context around them, and it's why you can't say anything remotely positive about someone you may not like but are forced to deal with like Putin. Which is funny when you consider that they didn't make a peep when Obama praised Putin in 2015 or called to congratulate him in 2012. I mean, for crying out loud, here's a video of Bill Clinton in 2013 on CNN saying nicer things about Putin than Trump ever has.
Look, Mr. Putin he's very smart.
Well, you know him better than most people.
Yeah, I do.
What was he like behind closed doors, away from, the sort of the public utterances?
Smart and remarkably, we had a really good, blunt relationship.
How blunt?
Brutally blunt.
Ever fisticuffs?
No, but I think, I think the right strategy most of the time is, but it's frustrating to people in your line of work. You should be brutally honest with people in private. And then if you want them to help you, try to avoid embarrassing them in public.
Right.
Now, sometimes they do things which make it impossible for you to keep quiet. But by and large, I found all the people I dealt with appreciated it if I told them the truth. How I honestly felt and what our interests were and what our objectives were. And they also appreciated it when I didn't kick them around in public for as long as I couldn't kick them around. So, that's my experience. And
did Putin ever renege on a personal agreement he made to you?
He did not.
So behind closed doors, he could be trusted?
He kept his word in all the deals we made.
Call me crazy, but using the left's own standards, it looks like we might have had Russian puppets in the Oval Office for decades. I mean, it sounds like someone should have impeached those guys for collusion or something. Regardless, at the end of the day, this is just more hypocrisy and selective outrage from the left. They don't ever mean anything they say and only ever want to apply rules and standards they create to everyone else. But let me know what you think. Who came out on top after the Trump and Zelensky meeting? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.